I was born and brought up in Bangalore, and I was raised in Bangalore. I went to school in Bangalore, and the family's been in Bangalore for many, many generations. In terms of my childhood, all I can say was that it was filled with great fun and lots of music and lots of books, and I was encouraged to do exactly what I wanted to do. It was a lovely, fantastic childhood. I went away to NIT in 1985. I think it was primarily because of my inherent interest in art and design. I was hoping to become an architect. But then I went to a design school instead, and absolutely no regrets, because those are, after my childhood, I think those were quite easily the most brilliant 5 years of my life. I worked as a graphic designer for a good maybe 17 years, primarily in publication design, and again primarily book design and stuff like that. But I had also been writing all along, before NID and also during NIT, which on one occasion got me into a little bit of trouble because I spent more time writing a novel and illustrating a slightly risky novel than actually doing my work. And to be very clear, I couldn't be sort of doing graphic design on the one side and writing on the other. It required that form of complete and undivided focus. It was now or never. Yeah, I was, I think, 40 years old or something at that point, and it was actually quite scary doing it, because I wasn't too sure whether I'd be able to pull it off. And I'm happy to say it's been I think it was a good choice. I was taking some time off to myself, and it just so happened that very serendipitously, a former client from the time I was a graphic designer had organized a talk at the NGMA in Bangalore by Dr. Ashok Kumar Das, who's a scholar in overall painting, and specifically a scholar on Mansoor. And by the end of that illustrative talk of about 1 hour, I was completely mesmerized by what we have been presented with. And that's where this journey really began. And I haven't looked back since. So Nadir Ustad Mansoor came into my life on the 22nd of August 2015. I work with these little red Moleskine notebooks. So there's a lot of planning and process which happens inside these. This one is significant, 22nd of August 2015. Dr. Ashok Kumar Das, 5 p.m. NGMA, Ustad Mansoor, Mapua and Minu. Okay, so then we have all these, but this is all Mansoor material. So from there we go to what happens. Principal characters, 1580s to 1620s. It's very strange revisiting all this. Okay, so what happens after this is I like working with these index cards, because then you can scribble and then you can just rip them and then you chuck them, but at least you can get to scribble and you can sort of organize and clarify your thoughts. So this is the final set of index cards which lead to how I would sequence my story. So I actually have chapter 1. We also have the timestamp, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Chapter 2. So this is after I've actually sequenced the entire story. And then we come to my editor's final edit. So by this stage, obviously, there's very little to actually do. And of course, to arrive at this stage would have taken, I don't know, maybe about 4 drafts. So this is my advanced copy of Mansoor. and it contains a very, very special note. This is from my editor, Shreya Gupta. Dear Vikram, Mansoor is finally here in the flesh. What an absolute joy it has been to go down the lanes of history with you, yet immersed in the miniatures of the Mughals, and collaborate on this gorgeous book with you.
I received from the literary agent Meeta Kapoor, who runs Siyahi, one of India's oldest literary agencies, a little manuscript called Mansoor by an author I hadn't really heard of previously. But something about the description of the novel really piqued my curiosity. I remember beginning it and finishing it in one day. Well, it wasn't a big challenge because it was a really short novel, I think about 31,000 words, but what it was able to unpack in such economy of prose was just something I really marveled at. Apart from the fact that I had been longing to read a work of fiction from India that I could say I can feel proud to publish. And Vikramajit Ram's prose was so flawless, it transported me so effortlessly to the period that sometimes, you know, your editor's instinct kicks in, and you know that this is one of those books that will be very well received and appreciated, and you just have to try and bat for it. But from the start, you know, he had worked on this novel for years. It was a novel that was very, very close to his heart. So it was a delicate dance, absolutely. We did have, while I was the editor who acquired it, my colleague Shreya Gupta was the line editor for the book, and both Shreya and I had, you know, a few suggestions that we thought could maybe add a little more drama to the story, or, you know, sort of heighten the intrigue a bit. And I will say that while Vikram was very receptive to all that feedback, he also had his own ideas about why he felt we needed to respect the integrity of the novel that he had submitted to us. And he did, you know, he was able to convince us why we needed to, you know, allow him to retain what he had created for the most part, because it worked so beautifully. It had been imagined and conceptualized so beautifully, almost as if, you know, it was a mirror image of the sort of the miniatures that were created in that period, where, you know, you see various stories unfolding in different corners of a Mughal painting. Something very similar happens throughout this story. You meet many different characters of different shades from different classes and religions in this in his novel, and they all have their, you know, little stories unfolding in various parts of the book.
Two seamstresses. It's a square of Bengal muslin of the type known as woven affair. The fabric borrows its color from the color of the surface against which it is draped, sometimes layered, more often singly, and more usually to clothe in a manner an imperial wife or concubine, and to be discarded come morning, for it tends to irreparably tear and stain. The present specimen is too small for draping. Rather, it must protect, like firm, yielding, youthful skin. It blushes the instant it's laid against the object it must contain. The seamstresses work quickly. Their scissors are silver, the needle ivory, and the thread a colorless filament of silk. There will be no drawstring. That the skin must be torn to release its contents is part of the allure of the whole exercise. It could well have been finished last week, but doing so would have denied the old ladies a rare pleasure in their otherwise uneventful days. The seamstresses are illiterate, but they've stolen a look, how could they not, inside the pomegranate red covers onto which they'd embroidered a mulberry red butterfly, a mulberry red dragonfly, and a double-lined edging of mulberry red silk. At first glance, they'd taken the marvels inside to be real, not painted. Now they unwrap it, the betel-skinned artifact, in a plain muslin square, securing it with a crisscrossed length of plain cotton twine, gathered in the middle in a simple double bow, the better to make it seem like a perfectly ordinary thing. Saite Banu counts 4 new silvers into the seamstress's hands. They leave. The ladies wait. Presently, the call to noon prayers drips from the pearl mosque behind the pomegranate trees. First the long list, and then to be on the short list. Wow. Comes as such a pleasant surprise after years of hard work. We're sitting by ourselves and doing our own thing. But it's certainly not easier to suddenly find that somebody has actually taken such care to recognize not just us, the writers, who ultimately it's about the work we produce, right? And in my specific case, that because somewhere I knew that these were long forgotten names, and I did want to cast a tiny little spotlight on this group, with Mansoor was the main protagonist. So suddenly to know that even that is actually being highlighted and recognized. It's a tremendous thing. Well, for the moment, I'm just going to take it easy for maybe till the end of the year. Because Mansoor is not even a year old. The book is not even a year old. It's published on the 24th of November 2022. And it's been a very busy year. It's been wonderful doing a series of illustrated talks for different audiences. And I get a chance to look at the material again, afresh with new eyes. And because you can't do the same thing for each audience, so the titles of the talks change. So it's all very exciting. But yes, of course, I soon have to get back to work because there's other stuff which I plan to do, also in the realm of historical fiction. So onwards from 2024, it's full steam ahead. Yeah.